Cat. All right. Party people in the place to be, Vandals, and all you hardcore comic book fans out there. This is a brand new episode of Pink Buzz, and this is one I didn't know if we were going to actually ever get around to doing, Joey. We kind of had it on the
Pushed
back
it back
burner.
twice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But we decided this afternoon we'll do it this afternoon. That way there will be no conflicts with anything else. So we're doing an afternoon episode again. It'll be our second or third in a row. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
it's all right. It's fun to do an afternoon episode every once in a while. A little more chill,
Doing a
you know.
nooner, man.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so the Dark Horse episode, we are supposed to do this one about a month ago, probably close to that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so we're finally getting around to it now. It's something we talked about like over a year ago, and when we're making the schedule, we finally decided to get around to putting it on the schedule. So we're going to talk about Dark Horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before we get into that juicy history, do you have a shout out, Joey?
Shout out, like check in or a shout out?
Yeah, a check in. That's
Check in. Okay. Well, I don't know. I maybe sometimes I tell you things and I forget about it. So I was like, maybe I had to announce something and I forgot. I finally got around to reading The Nasty by John Lees, one of our favorites over here on the Pink Buzz. Who's the art on that? I think you said it last time. Art by George Kambagdas and Adam Cahoon. Letters by Jim Campbell. And yeah, man, I dig the concept. I dig the theme of this. A horror fan kid. Imaginary friend becomes like a character from one of his favorite horror movies, which is pretty much a love letter to Jason Voorhees. It's more of like a Jason Voorhees character who becomes his best friend, imaginary friend, and through some weird wizardry, things will start to get a little crazy or cursed or something from the cursed tape that they watch. So yeah, things will. It's really more of a setup this issue, and can't wait for issue 2 because then I think it's going to get a little more, probably a
it's
lot
gonna
of
pick up. Yeah.
funny. Yeah, it'll probably be really funny. Probably some funny stuff, more action, but a great job of establishing all the characters, the backstory for this main character, which I forget his name now. I read it because it's 2 weeks ago and we didn't have a check-in last time. So anyway, but yeah, pretty cool, pretty fun.
I liked the panels of showing him growing up, like the one where he's like making out with his girlfriend and
And he's
Innes is
pushing,
back there with the knife ready to kill her. I thought that was so funny because of like the
yeah,
horror movie trope.
yeah, and he's like, just like, get out of here, get out of here. Yeah, trying to brush him away with his hand. Another one I read was issue 5 of Plush. Yeah, this series has been way better than not that it wasn't going to be good, but you know, for reason stuff, I wasn't too sure about it. But I mean, Doug Wagner and Hilliard, man, you can't go wrong with those two dudes. They always bring the A game. So Daniel Hilliard and Doug Wagner, man. One more issue left. It's a 6-issue series, so it wraps up in one more. So I can't wait to read that. I picked this up on a whim through. I read it through the previews. It's a Red 5 Comics, Fallen. It's a story of gods that fall to Earth and they live like amongst uh, humans. So it's like a story of immortals living among the humans and trying to blend in.
Is it
So
like all
this,
the different pantheons? Is it like Egyptians and like Nordic and all of them? Or
you have Zeus. You have. I'm not sure. It looks like it because the one main. There's this one guy that murders people, and he looks like he might be Egyptian, like an Egyptian god. So
okay,
I, so I think yeah, it's a bunch of different. And Zeus gets murdered. That's not a big spoiler because that's right off the first story. That's kind of I think what gets murdered by this other. Well, we're not sure if he's a god or what he is, but anyway, he ends up murdering Zeus, and that kind of makes a chain of events that kicks the story into action. And the art's pretty good. I mean, you know, It's solid. The story's not bad. I mean, it's the first issue, so you can never tell. Like, yeah, you know,
Yeah, Red 5 is pretty decent. I mean,
yeah,
I mostly know him from Atomic Robo, but like I also really like the book they put out called Moon Girl, which is a lot different than the Marvel Moon Girl.
okay,
And what's the dinosaur one that I had? Zeotropic,
okay,
which was a lot of fun.
yeah. And like they're different factions, so the different gods. One's like more of a mafia leader, the other one's a leader of a biker gang. You know, they have these different factions, and it's almost like crime rings. You know, almost like crime bosses. They all become crime bosses more or less. So so yeah, they all have their territories and they have rules that they all follow. So that's pretty much how that one goes. Fallen. Then I got around because you recommended it. Was the Doom Patrol?
What'd you think?
It was good, man. I liked it.
Yeah, but you see
It
what
was
I mean? It like they're like hella trying to mainstream them too, right? In this,
yeah, but I mean, it still has that same vibe and how like they just Batman get out of here. I like
yeah,
whatever.
I really did like the way Jane showed up, Batman. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah, it was good. And man, the artist on this, Chris Durham. I've seen his stuff somewhere. The name I've read something that he's worked on before. Dennis Culver too. I recognize that name. I don't know what books I've read from them. I'll have to go check. But dude, man, I love the art in this. Chris Burnham has like this Derek Robertson vibe to his work. Like it's really cool. I really dig it. Like yeah, totally like Derek Robertson, man. He's got like that similar vibe with some of the details, the way he draws it. It's really cool, really cool. Good stuff. I love the artist on this. Like that page there, that's super cool.
yeah.
The
Oh yeah,
thing,
I really like Beast Girl. I think that's a great new character.
yeah, yeah, with her fight or flight and all that. Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. Oh yeah, there's a good shot of Beast Girl. Yeah, rah,
Yeah,
trying to influence them. They're dumb. They don't. I can't. They're mindless creatures. I have no effect on them. Yeah, it was good. I mean, but Doom Patrol is one of those like oddball books that strays from these you know cookie cutter formula that most superhero books do. So you're always going to get something different with that book usually, and I think they are going to do something that kind of steers clear of that cookie cutter superhero formula. So first issue is pretty cool.
yeah.
And I don't know if this character it's a first appearance, this guy here, the one that they
I think so because he gets his powers in this issue. So
yeah, they talk about him. I don't know exactly, but we'll see. He seems like an interesting character that he gains power with the more angry he gets. He gets bigger and dumber as he gets more angry. So a little bit kind of like the Hulk complex, So it was fun read. I enjoyed it. Yeah. And other stuff we read was for our episode Tuesday that we had the Becca on. We read the Wormhole Tragedy, which was really good. So that's issue 2 is available now, so people could go pick that up at thebecca.com. But we already talked about that a lot. So
yeah,
I mean,
indeed.
mhm,
But it's always good to plug the homie. You know what I mean?
yeah, thebecca.com. Her new book, her issue 2 just dropped. So what was it last week? So I mean, I think both issues are available there, so you can just go pick them up on her site. Yeah, that's pretty much my check-in. Oh, did we watch? Oh, Lord, the Rings of Power. We binged through that last weekend.
Was it good?
Throughout this week, it was actually pretty good, and it made us. We watched the first Lord of the Rings movie after. That's how good it was. It made me want to go watch that movie that I hadn't watched in forever.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you have seen it before, though. Okay, I was gonna.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the Rings of Power was solid, man. A lot of budget, very very good. Yeah,
Yeah, they put $1 billion into that show, man.
that much? Wow.
It was like 750,000, but like everybody rounds it up to $1 billion.
Wow, so that's like 100 million, and it was 8 episodes, so it's close to 100 million an episode.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane. Hey, Al, how's it going? Afternoon episode. She's probably neglecting her kids right now, or she's making them like put them in a corner with a dunce hat. They're being punished. They got detention, so she can go do stuff. If she's still homeschooling, I'm not sure if she's homeschooling anymore. Yeah, I think she still is. You know it, yeah, yeah. It can't be an easy job. Nap time. Yeah. Detention. Go write. I can picture her. She gets a chalkboard set up in her living room, making her kids rewrite. Don't bug mom while she's whatever, like 100 times on the board. Yeah, we had. I was on. What is it? For one night only, the Shrek erotic episode. There, they had that last night, so I hopped on with them. Yeah, it was pretty fun. It got a little raunchy at times, but we had a good time. It was fun. You go
Yeah,
check that out on YouTube. It's how was it written? For one night only, get in my swamp, an erotic book discussion. I think that's how it went. That's you can search it that way on YouTube. Yeah.
well, and her channel's called Not Exactly Legit, so
Oh, okay, it's under not exactly legit.
I
Okay.
believe that's what her channel is. Yeah, it's just her normal branding, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, look for that because if you look under the title of the episode, all kinds of Shrek stuff comes up, and it's probably not as easy to find. So yeah, go. Not exactly legit is probably the easiest way to find it. Then yeah. Yeah. So if you like raunchy discussions, man, go check it out. Oh, I can't see that. Let's see. There we go.
All right. And for me, like I actually haven't gotten to the comic book shop this week, but like I did see some movies. I watched 65, which I thought was pretty good. I liked it a lot. I a solid 7 out of 10. I highly recommend it. Some pretty good action, some pretty good drama. I didn't expect it to be. Yeah, I'll come on for book 2 for sure. Uh,
Yeah, there's anyway. Let's just say cum puddle was mentioned a few times.
so one of them kid friendly episodes. I gotcha.
Yeah, it was definitely kid friendly.
And and I also watched Guy Ritchie's new movie Operation
Yeah.
Fortune.
Okay.
Which
I almost put that on. That's on Amazon, I believe, right?
I rented it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I highly recommend it. It's good fun. It's got a great cast. Aubrey Plaza's a blast in it, like always. Really highly recommend it. And aside from that, like I just been listening to a lot of music.
Yeah, you posted a few things this week on the DMs there.
Yeah, I've been listening to Initiate because you told me to. I really like that album, the new album. It's really good. And then I checked out Poison Rune, which is like one that you kind of mentioned in passing.
Yeah.
But I actually ended up really enjoying because I didn't expect them to sound like old school oi punk. Like they hella sounded like the Blitz, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't expect because their album cover it's got like this dude with like chainmail. So I thought it was like going to be some kind of like
metal,
doom metal, because especially because it's got the peace sign like on the flail. So I was like expecting some hippie doom metal, but like it's like some straight up high energy oi punk sounding stuff. I really liked it, even though the songs were like all about like medieval stuff, like torture chamber and like runes of enchantment and stuff. I'm like, okay, like this is like some oi that you could play Skyrim to. Like I'm digging this.
Which you actually were playing recently. No, you started replaying Skyrim.
Yeah, actually, when I started playing it after listening to that album, I was just like, hell yeah, gonna go level up, man.
Awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my check-in.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So the topic for this episode 60, nice round number, is going to be Dark Horse Comics. So we're going to do kind of a retrospective, and we're going to talk about some of our old favorites and some of maybe the newer books that we were enjoying from them, because they're almost close to 4 decades of publishing comics. So, I mean, they're founded in 1986 by Mike Richardson in Milwaukee, I believe. So yeah, man, that's almost 40 years they've been putting out books.
In Milwaukee, I think Portland, Oregon, right?
Portland, yeah. He originated
okay.
In Portland. Right. His shops were in Portland. He had a series of comic shops called Pegasus Books that he founded in 1980, and he used the money from the businesses from his comic shops to start a publishing company called the Dark Horse, which now the head office is in Milwaukee, but it probably did start in Portland, and then as it grew, it probably moved to Milwaukee after. So yeah, I didn't know that he started as a comic shop owner. He had a few shops, and he I guess he's a pretty good businessman. Made some money off that, and then pivoted into the publishing game. Yeah, which is pretty cool. That kind of could almost mirror like Whatnot, right? That's kind of what they did. They were kind of a online retailer, and now they're starting to publish books as well. So
okay,
it's cool to see. Yeah, it's cool to see shops do that, start dipping their toes into the publishing world. Yeah, because usually people like that often have a passion for it. So they come at it from a business and a love for the medium. So, you get good stuff. And I mean, if you use Dark Horse as a template, then I mean, that's a pretty goddamn solid template to go by. Oh, Spanky's in the house. What's up, Spanks? Matt is in the house from the N Pod.
What is up, brother? How you doing? It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Before we get into like all the kind of reminiscing and all that, Joe, like I gotta ask, what was the first Dark Horse comic you remember actually seeing on shelves?
First one would have to be, was it Predator or Aliens? See, because I read Grendel, but it was still part of Comico when the first Grendel book I read. So it wasn't Dark Horse, it was still Comico. So I'd have to say it'd either be Aliens or Predator, or was it Aliens versus Predator? Something like that. Yeah. I'd have to say that.
For real, yeah. I'm not sure exactly which one it was. I just remember seeing a flood of their licensed books. I remember seeing Alien, Predator, and Terminator, and like just how incredible the covers looked, because like they were like legit painted. You know what I mean? Like they were just gorgeous. And at that time, like you usually had your typical like looking comic book covers. Your Marvel and DC type stuff. And
yeah. Oh, so Richard's in the house. Blam and Glam. Mr. Richard Morgan's in the house. He said Aliens was his first book that he picked up from Dark Horse. See, I always thought Dark Horse was, before I knew much about them, I thought they were a European publisher. Like I thought they were based out of England or some shit like that, because they had that, like that 2080 vibe I found to their books, and like quality, and like a little more mature compared to like the DC and Marvel stuff. So I always got that vibe from it till I realized they were just a Midwestern, right? Is that it? Midwestern?
Yeah, Beer City, man.
Yeah, Midwestern publisher. I was like, oh shit, man. That kind of threw me for one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, because they do have that prestige to them, you know what I mean? And like they would put out like a lot of prestige style comics, and as far as I know, like they're one of the few that actually kind of get a magazine up and running, or at least like an anthology book that runs almost constantly with Dark Horse Presents. I mean, and it's probably one of the greatest books that they've ever put out, because like so much stuff originated and ran in Dark Horse Presents before like it actually got its own series. Like like Sin City. Let's see.
The Mask,
Concrete.
Concrete. I think Jeff Darrow didn't Shaolin Cowboy make his first appearance in a Dark Horse Presents as well?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think
Hellboy. I mean, Hellboy was in Next Men technically first, but
Mhm.
like he really started up and running in Dark Horse Presents. Like Seed of Destruction was pretty much,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
one of my all-time favorites, Paul Pope's The One Trick Ripoff,
Mm.
which is one of his
Okay.
really early graphic novels. Really cool, kind of post-apocalyptic. I might say, like it's in the city. It's pretty desperate, and like it's about this street gang, but like they have like this one kind of mind trick that they can throw, where like they can make you think that somebody's behind you, and
Mhm.
like that's why they're called the One Tricks. I thought it was a really cool, clever book. It's one of his most depressing, but like still, I really dig it because Paul stuff's always pretty emotional.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. I like it. I like his stuff, man. I love his style. It's good stuff. Um, yeah, so Dark Horse, let's see, just a sec. There was something I saw when I was looking through, and right here, like just recently, like Dark Horse just recently, like in recent history, what have they made a deal with um
What is the game company called?
it's
They
Embracer.
own, yeah, they own THQ North. I know that.
Yeah, Embracer just bought Dark Horse Entertainment. The comics division is still run by Mike Richardson. He still has total control over the comics, but it's Dark Horse Entertainment is what they purchased, uh, and that went through. I think they finalized that sale in March of 2022. So as of then, they're partners with Embracer. So now they have a whole new uh, farm of IP, intellectual properties that they can make comics of, and so that'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and anyways, Dark Horse has always done video game comics, so like it's not going to be too out of the norm if they start doing
yeah,
more.
yeah. Licensing's always been a strong part of their business model because, like you said, right from the start, they got licenses for Predators, Aliens. They had Star Wars after Marvel lost it. They picked it up like way back in what the
That was one of the first
in the
ones I actually
80s.
remember owning. Like, was Star Wars Dark Empire was like
Yeah.
I think
So they
legit like the first one I owned.
Yeah, for a long time, Dark Horse was doing all the Star Wars books. They had RoboCop for a while too, because they had some RoboCop Terminator crossover stuff going for a while, where that was a pretty big thing. Yeah, I don't know who owned RoboCop before they got their hands on it, but yeah, so they did a
I know
lot of
Marvel
Terminator
put out some
RoboCop.
RoboCop comics too.
Yeah, so that could be it. Maybe Marvel decided to get rid of a lot of their licensing deals, and then Dark Horse picked up whatever the bigger name licenses probably that Marvel dropped. Yeah,
Is that based
Cyberpunk.
off of the video game?
Yeah, yeah, that's the video game. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. They do The Witcher, uh, Ex Machina, Vox is one of them. Critical Role, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the based off of the D&D guys
Yeah, they
podcast.
do that. Yeah, exactly. They have that book. That's a license. They're starting to do more Star Wars again. They got a deal to do YA Star Wars books, young adult Star Wars books. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like a few of the things Marvel has done with Star Wars. Like I like Doctor Offer and stuff, but I really did prefer it at Dark Horse, like
Mhm.
because they put out really fun stuff. Like my favorite thing that they did with it was called the Star Wars, and it's actually based on George Lucas's original script for the New Hope. So it's basically a completely different version of the movie you've already seen. Like you'll see similarities, but it's so different and it's so rad. Like I really highly recommend if you're a fan, you can still find this one pretty easily in shops too. So because I don't think Marvel actually reprinted it like they did some of Dark Horse's stuff, but
Yeah. Mm. See here when I was looking, Mike Richardson was part of the Amateur Press Association, which is a organization that focuses on critiquing comics throughout conventions and fan expos, newsletters, stuff like that. So he developed a lot of working relationships with other creators and stuff, and that's how they managed to get a lot of creators to come over to Dark Horse to work on books there. So like he was a pretty smart guy, man. A lot of networking, and yeah.
Manny's in the house now too. Hell yeah.
Oh man, he's here. Yeah, man. So yeah, like pretty smart business guy, and yeah, and it just took off from there from 1986, man, and it's still running today. So that's pretty impressive. Like you said, Dark Horse Presents, like we said, Concrete was first appearance in that. They say Black Cross. What else? The first issue of Dark Horse Presents sold 50,000 copies, which was way more than they were expecting, which is a pretty good for a first book from an unknown publisher. 50,000 copies, man.
And
That's
an
crazy.
anthology magazine, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they don't really
exactly.
have a good track record in American comics.
Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that's yeah. Yeah, he bought the rights to, let's see, the licensing. He bought in 87, they bought the rights to Godzilla, Aliens, and Predator in 89. They got the Star Wars rights in 91, which was previously Marvel that had it before that. They started producing toys. Yeah, so yeah, I forgot that they have. And who's doing Godzilla? Do they still have Godzilla?
IDW has Godzilla.
IDW has it now. Yeah, sometimes I get confused because the licensing is for so many years, and sometimes they renew them, sometimes they don't. So
I don't actually really remember any Dark Horse Godzilla books. So
well, it's in 87, so I don't know. It doesn't say. I didn't see how long. They didn't say how long they had the license for, but yeah, man, like pretty heavy on the licensing, and they still are to this day. Yeah. Alien versus Predator, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the first ones I got too, was Alien versus. I got a lot of those like those comics too early on when I was back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. Yeah. And then recently too, like we said, Embracer, that was a recent development over the pandemic. And another thing that happened over the pandemic is Dark Horse reached a deal with Comixology to publish all the Comixology originals. So all the free comics that come out on Comixology digitally, well, they have a deal with Dark Horse to publish all those books, which there are some really good ones. Some of our ones we love are from Michael Conrad and Noah Bailey. Tremor Dose is one I love. Great book. Love that book. You can pick that up through Dark Horse printed. And the other one was The Walker. What was it?
Dual Walker or Double Walker?
Double Walker. Yeah. That one was, those were the two that Michael Conrad and Noah did together. So those are great books put out.
Yeah,
and
if you like A24 horror movies, like yeah, definitely check those books out. Like they read a lot like really good, really smart, really artistic horror books. Like a lot of fun.
Yeah. And what else? So that means Scott Snyder has a bunch of stuff because he made a deal with Comixology. So he has a lot. All his stuff comes out on Dark Horse that he does through Comixology. So you have a lot of really, and the Comixology stuff over the last 3 or 4 years, they're putting out a lot more stuff, and the quality is really good. I mean, Chip Zdarsky put out a book on Comixology called All Nighter. You had, I think Stephanie Phillips put one out. You have a bunch of creators that jumped on board and started.
Yeah, like Chris Sabella was doing some. Lemire was doing some. Like
yeah, and they all come out on I'm pretty sure they're all coming out on Dark Horse. So you can pick all those Comixology originals through Dark Horse, which is pretty cool. Terminator, yeah, the Terminator books early on, those are all cool.
Yeah.
Bisley, how can you not love Bisley's work, right? Back in the 90s, he was the man. And then just before the pandemic, Dark Horse made another move. They went and made a deal with Karen. I always say Berger, but you say Berger. The founder, legend in comics. I call her a legend because, I mean, how else is the founder of Vertigo Comics, man.
Yeah.
Like where would American indie comics be today without her? I mean, she laid the foundation, I think, to
We'd probably still have the Comic Authority going on.
yeah. Like, I mean, she paved the way for modern indie comics today, right? What we have today, like she paved the way for it as far as I'm concerned. She laid the bricks down for all those people to walk that path today.
At least for mature comics in the mainstream.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
like there was indie stuff popping off.
Yeah.
There was Caliber and Comico and Fantagraphics and all that. But like to actually have that stuff represented in the main market by a big publisher, it was unheard of. So yeah, when DC allowed you know, and her and DC worked together, it was like probably one of the most virtuous times for the label, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
they're still trying to ride high on that hog, rehashing some old glory with it. And it's probably some of their best-selling stuff right now with the Fables and all the Sandman stuff that they're chilling out there.
Yeah. So so Dark Horse made a deal with her, and they have a imprint with her in charge that's called Burger Books. And there's been some great books that have come out.
She Can Fly.
She Can Fly. The Cantwell book.
Seeds by Ann Nocenti and David Aja. Such a beautiful book, like just really good, really smart sci-fi. Like
yeah. Pat got a book a while back that was published by them as well called Goblin. I think it was originally a Kickstarter, and they picked it up after to publish it through Burger Books.
I know the guys that do Goblin. Eric Grissom and Will Perkins. Yeah, they're buddies of mine. So yeah.
What else? There's quite a few different books that come out through Burger Books, and
Invisible Kingdom by G. Willow Wilson, and who does the art on that? It's beautiful art. Like I have the trade somewhere. God damn it.
Yeah. It's so there's that. I mean, and for a company, like especially a comic company, to survive the 90s, that comic crash, when you have to be pretty resilient, you have to be pretty smart. Business wise, you have to make extremely smart decisions. So it's just a testament to how well of a company this Dark Horse is, like, run by Mike Richardson. Like, I mean, this guy must make all the right moves, because a lot of companies have come and gone. Companies that have huge hype behind them and stuff like that. A lot of people buy their books and following. And I mean, Dark Horse has been doing it for over 35 years now, and they're going just as strong as they ever have. I think they're on a high right now. There's so many great books coming out from Dark Horse at the moment. And I mean, I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So
yeah, they really do seem to just keep their finger on the pulse of like what's exciting and what's really interesting coming out. And there's been a few times where I thought that like they might fall off when they lost all the Fox stuff to Disney, to Marvel. Like I was really worried for the company because
well, they did have a little low, and I think what it was is they lost the licensing for that, and the pandemic hit. And so out of all the companies coming out of the pandemic, I found like Dark Horse had a slower start than the rest. But I think it's probably because they probably pivoted and were changed up their business model, right? Because they didn't have those big license names anymore. And probably from the transition, they got a slower start coming out of the pandemic when everything started up again. But once they got going, I mean, it was just bam, good title after good title. And they had so many so many great books coming out, and they still had a roster of already fantastic books like Black Hammer, Hellboy, to help. And I think that's what you need, are some really key books to have a foundation. Like Mike Mignola, I mean, he's the backbone of Dark Horse as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's been running Hellboy with them for how long?
Oh man, 1999, something like that.
Yeah. So he's been
So,
there for a long time, and he never changed. Never, I don't think he's published a single Hellboy comic out aside from Dark Horse, right? Since he's been there.
Hellboy has been in a few comics against censorship anthology things that I'm not sure. Maybe Dark Horse did publish those as well, but like I know that he has shown up in a few things like that. That Dark Horse is okayed, and I don't know. Did he show up in crossover? I know a couple Dark Horse things showed up in Donny Cates' crossover. I'm not sure.
I didn't see Hellboy. If he was, I was maybe like cheated into the background.
Yeah,
like some of the other stuff, but not as a main figure. But I only read up to issue 6 or 7. I didn't get past that, so I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't say. But and then Jeff Lemire shows up with Black Hammer, which was a huge book. Then you got Gerard Way as well, shows up with Umbrella Academy, which is just as big as anything over at Dark Horse at the moment, with the Netflix series going and everything. So Umbrella Academy is a pretty big book over there. They have some pretty big tent titles as well, not just like so yeah, they can publish like more popular stuff, as well as like maybe the more indie oriented titles. So I mean, they know how to do it all, right?
Yeah, and like you said, like they always seem to get, like, every time I think that they're gonna slow down and fall off, like they do, they just come out with a new batch of just really rad stuff, and just keeps me entertained. Like just a few years ago, like Death Orb. I mean, like,
Death Orb, yeah,
still one of my favorite books from Alejandro Aragon and Ryan K. Ferrier. Such a fun book.
Yeah, that was good. We covered that one on one of our episodes. That was a great book. Love that. Yeah. What else is there? Just recently too, we were big fans of Fulci, you, myself, everybody. We all loved Orphan and the 5 Beasts. James Stokoe is another guy who does tons of work through Dark Horse. He's been pretty loyal to Dark Horse. Most of his stuff comes out through Dark Horse. He did Sullivan Slugger, came out through Dark Horse. One of our favorite Alien books, Dead Orbit, that came out through Dark Horse. This is a fantastic Alien book. I mean, if anyone get out there and get the James Stokoe Alien book. I mean, these are they put the covers that he did in the back there as a gallery. Fantastic stuff. I mean, it's just amazing. We covered this on an episode. Great book. So James Stokoe does quite a bit of work through Dark Horse, which is fun.
They also got like a really good collection of like his short comics and his work called Tusk that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool hardcover.
Yeah. And they have like a variety. They have like manga style stuff too. Like this is one I mentioned, Empowered. This is through Dark Horse by Adam Warren, and it's like a manga style book. It's black and white, fun stuff. This is like a more mature, not safe for work type stuff. And this has been running for a long time. This is a fun stuff, really fun stuff.
That might be a little bit how Dark Horse has always kind of stayed relevant too, because they were actually one of the companies that brought manga to the U.S.
Yeah.
They when they started running Blade of the Immortal was I
Blade of the Immortals,
first manga that they ran, and like they ran the whole thing. They put out Ghost in the Shell originally in English. They put out Appleseed. A lot of that Shiro Masamune stuff they put out.
Yeah, and I think also didn't Dark Horse, was it Dark Horse that put out the Cub and Wolf?
Yeah,
when it came out here, and that was Frank Miller was he pushed that big time to try to get it here, and I think that's probably when he was with because he has a long history with Dark Horse, because there is an imprint called Legend, and that was started by Frank Miller and John Byrne to try to get creators to come over to Dark Horse and make their own creator-owned stuff through their imprint Legend over at Dark Horse, and that lasted for 4 years. From 94 to 98, Legend was an imprint under Dark Horse, and like Frank Miller put out Sin City under that imprint. So that was huge. Huge comic huge influential comic at the time. Adapted into a fantastic movie. I mean, yeah. And Dark Horse has a pretty good track record with their properties being adapted into movies. Like, you think of Hellboy, those movies were great. I mean, The Mask with Jim Carrey, I mean, you could say what you want, but I think it did fairly well at the box office. It's probably not
The first movie's good. I mean, the first
Yeah.
movie's good. I mean, it's not like the comic, but the first movie's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where Dark Horse also started an entertainment division, right? Where they got into to do television and adapt their properties into movies. So yeah, so that was a good move on their part, right? Yeah. Multiple revenue streams, which is important, I think, in entertainment these days, because you never know what's going to happen with the different medias. So, and Embracer jumping on board a video game company, that's just another branch that they can go out and mine for income.
I mean, I know that they are doing a new Hellboy game finally, which will be like the first one since the Xbox 360, and that's really good news. I mean, and I hope
it looks cool.
Put a lot. Yeah, it looks really good, man. It looks like Mike Mignola's art. I mean, it looks perfect.
Come to life. Yeah,
it looks
exactly.
Perfect, dude. The stuff I've seen from it. So
yeah, it does look really cool. Yeah, and you have some. They had license for Army of Darkness before Dynamite picked it up, so they ran
Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead. Yeah, they had a license for that, which I have the hardcover here. They put it out. They put out a 40th anniversary edition for the Evil Dead hardcover through Dark Horse. They put that out a little while ago. That I picked that up
with that John Bolton art too. It is such a beautiful book, man.
Yeah.
It is probably one of the coolest movie adaptations that I've seen, because much like Evil Dead 1 and 2, the comic book isn't exactly like the first movie. So it's almost like a third Evil Dead film, and it's painted so beautifully by John Bolton that it looks exactly like Bruce Campbell. It is such a rad book.
Yeah. And like I said, the roster of licenses they had was an all-star roster of the licenses. Like, you had Aliens, Predator, RoboCop, Terminator, Star Wars. You had the Evil Dead. I mean, they even put out a Thing comic. They put out a Thing comic. Like, I mean, that's the creme of the creme. Like, if you're going to go out to get licenses to make comics, I mean, they were just smart about it. Right.
And they actually did really good comics for these books. Yeah. I mean, with good art. They weren't just toy
throwaway stories just to cash in. Yeah. Yeah. They cared about the books they were putting out, put out quality books, like you said. Yeah. They weren't just tie-ins, throwaway stories just to try to Yeah. Fantastic stuff. I mean,
I'm sure they have their fans, but I don't know if you ever read like those old school Marvel Star Wars comics, but they're pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't hear very many people talking about the Alien and Predator books anymore either, coming out from Marvel. There's a lot of hype in the beginning, and I don't hear anyone ranting or raving about anything coming out over there.
Wasn't Brizin doing Predator?
Is he doing it now? I don't know if he started on Predator, but I think he's working on it now. I don't know if he was the original writer, but yeah.
I might look into that. I don't know. I mean, like, I just can't see like them doing the gore like Dark Horse did, but
yeah, that's another thing, right? It was much more geared towards the mature readers. A lot of Dark Horse books. So
Well, I mean, like they were based off of rated R movies, so they made like PG-13 rated R comics for them. I mean,
yeah,
like I'm having a hard time seeing Disney Marvel like doing chest burster scenes really awesome in the
yeah.
Alien books. They might, I don't know. I haven't read any of them, but
Mm, mm. Their Witcher adaptations have gotten a lot of people love that. I guess they do a good job with that. I haven't read any, but from what I understand is a lot of people like those, and their Vox Machina stuff too. Is or Machina? I don't know how you pronounce it, but I guess a lot of people dig those as well. Mm. Another Dark Horse book we covered. They put out a lot of original graphic novels. This is another one we just covered recently, Apocalyptic Girl. Fantastic book. I mean, go check that out from Andrew McLean. Fantastic Dark Horse book. This is one I showed you a little while back. They put out a collected edition of Hound.
oh yeah, I got to
Yeah,
look into that. That the
yeah,
Celtic one.
yeah. The Celtic, yeah, black and white, fantastic art. That's one I haven't read yet, but I have to get to. Paul J. Bolger, Barry Devlin, and D. Kennethy. And Dark Horse is introduced me to one of my favorite artists now that I follow on Instagram, Matt Lesniewski. He worked on, this is his original graphic novel that came out through Dark Horse called Static. Here, I'll open it up. You can get a, for people that aren't familiar with his style, I'll show you some of the interiors here because his stuff is wild. He's great. I'll try to find that page. It's near the middle, I think. Eh? Like, this guy's got the most unique style going right now in comics. Like, great stuff. Fantastic. Where's that splash page? Right here. Yeah, right there. I mean, fantastic stuff. You can follow him on Instagram. He's constantly posting stuff on Instagram. He's pretty active on Twitter as well. You can follow him on Twitter. But this is his graphic novel he put out. He just did a campaign for his next graphic novel called The Faceless Man. That was on Zoop, and he's I think he's finished up the art now. It's just a question of proofing everything and sending it to the printer, so that should be coming out soon. But the first book I saw of his, he worked on a book with Matt Kent called Crimson Flower about a girl with mental health issues, possibly suffers from schizophrenia, so you don't know what's real, what's not. A really interesting story. That was a fun book. That's when I found Dark Horse started picking things back up. Right around then, they started putting out all these books. Matt Kent started putting some more stuff out. Through them. Like, he's another contributor who works often through Dark Horse. Is Matt Kent. I mean,
Yeah,
they seem to have very good working relationships with all their creators because so many creators come back and keep coming back to make more books. Here's another one for a guy who's a big name these days now. Pretty much Rom V.
oh my god, yeah, and that is such a
Graffiti's
good
Wall.
book. Like
Yeah.
if you want to understand Ram V's hype, read Graffiti's Wall. Like that book will really just like endear him to you as a
Yeah.
creator. I mean, you will understand why everybody loves him so much.
Yeah, like, and just the variety of books that Dark Horse puts out too. Like, there's
Exactly.
something for everyone. Like, I mean, if you want fantasy, they have fantasy. If you want sci-fi, they have sci-fi. You want horror, Cullen Bunn writes a ton of books for him. One of his most popular series is Harrow County, which has been running for quite some time, and that's a really popular
Straight up
series.
folk horror. I mean, and
Yeah,
beautiful. Tyler Crook's art is just so gorgeous in it too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so
They
many
also
books.
they also do historical dramas. Like one of my favorite
Mm,
books of theirs that I have is called The Bowery Boys, and it's written by Corey Levine with art by Ian Bertram, and it's basically like turn of the century New York, like gangs of New York style New York, and it's about these orphan kids and like them hustling on the streets, and it's really brutal, but it's such a good book. I highly recommend it. The Bowery Boys. And yeah, like you were saying, it's just a mad variety of what you can expect from the company.
Mhm.
And another Ian Bertram book that I really like,
Yeah,
House of Penance by Peter
yeah,
J. Tomasi, which is a ghost story about the Winchester House.
yeah.
Like like if you ever saw that movie Winchester, this book is what that would be if it didn't suck and it was actually scary. Like House of Penance is a brutal book, and Ian Bertram's like art, like the way the ghosts like float around on like the strings of blood, and just like the way the blood like pools up, and oh man, like, it is just such a eerie, creepy book. I love it.
Mm. They do some like even they have a lot of books that are like more humor based, kind of like one that I really enjoyed that came out a little while ago was Jenny Zero. Like that's a book I just loved. I love the tone. I love the humor in it. I mean,
Yeah,
they
David
have
Dewanch. Yeah, the about the
yeah,
kaiju celebrity girl, e
yeah,
girl.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's just so many different books and variety of books they put out. I mean, it's great, and they've been doing it for so long, and just to see how they pivot and progress depending on the market, the economy, they just seem so resilient, and they seem to have an answer for everything. Like, oh, this is happening. Well, we're gonna switch it up. We'll change up the business plan. We'll do this now. I mean, they just seem to be very versatile in their approach to their business model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Uh,
mean, the hits just keep coming. I mean, one of my other favorite things that they've ever put out, it's an adaptation of a novel by David or Tom D. Haven. It's called Freak Amour. And
okay.
like this book is basically like a really good metaphor about like racism, and you just got to read it, man. It's very disturbing. It's very upsetting. It's probably one of the most upsetting books you could probably read, just because of like what the characters go through in the book. But like it's about like this one night in New York, this freak accident happens, and all the kids that are born like in this one block or in this one area all kind of come out like deformed, and it's about like basically how they have to live, and how they're treated by society and stuff. And I it goes hard, man. And Phil Hester does the art in it. It is so good. But like I said, man, it's a book that'll punch your soul right in its balls, man. Like it's so I mean, like, they'll have a lot of fun books, and then they'll have like books like this, man, that are just introspective and wild.
Yeah. See, here I read something about that because that made me think of EC Comics, like that style, the cover, the picture. And right here, they began to reprint all the back catalog of EC, the archives. They got the rights to reprint a lot of the classic EC comics from the 50s and stuff. Yeah, and
Okay.
using the same size format glass as Gladstone, with all the stories reprinted in order and in full color. So like that's cool that they went back and got like EC Comics and reprinted them, and so it shows they have a knowledge of the history of the industry and they care about it to do stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Mm. And like we were talking, you didn't even touch on one of your favorite books,
Yet, which one are we talking about?
the Rabbit Man.
Yeah, they ran probably the
Yeah,
longest run of my favorite comic book ever, Usagi
yeah,
Yojimbo by Stan Sakai. And
yeah.
it actually I remember when this first came out, it was originally just supposed to be a three shot, and it became an ongoing from there. But like, yeah, I remember because I was a huge fan already, and the book has always been pretty brutal, but like this first issue, it gets traumatic, man. Like there's this crucifixion scene with this character called Noodles that like I it blew me away. So it like really just reinvigorated me as a fan of the book. And yeah, like I think he put out like over 320 issues at Dark Horse, which is amazing for an American comic book. And like it only restarted because I don't know why he went to IDW. I'm not sure about the logistics of that, but it seems to be a nice home for it. And the only thing that's weird is like it's in color now. And after reading Usagi Yojimbo for like my whole life in black and white, it's
Black and
been a
white.
trip to see
Yeah.
it full color. But yeah, like Dark Horse like was smart enough to bring him over, and like I said, man, it ran for years, decades. Like
Yeah.
I was in junior high when I got this issue. I think 7th grade,
Hmm.
and I'm 41. So
Another book, now that it just popped into my head, was talking about the funny books, and it was Crowley, Reluctant Midnight Hunter. That I love that series. The first trade is great. I still need to get around to reading the second volume because they put out a second volume as well. But that was a fun book, kind of in the style of a cross between the Crypt Keeper and, like, let's say, a Svengoolie. I mean, it was fun.
Elvira.
Yeah, Elvira, like the monster show host or horror or whatever you want to call it, like,
like a Friday Night Theater type host.
yeah, theater type host. Yeah, exactly. That book was fantastic. Love that. Written by oh shit, I always have a hard time with his name, so I won't even bother trying. But he was the Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad. He's the writer of that book. So yeah, that was a fun one. What else? What else have you read? Oh, just recently, one that's running now that's been pretty wild is the Where Monsters Lie.
Yeah, that is probably one of my favorite books that's running right now.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a fun one about a bunch of serial killers that have not a retirement home, but a resort where they go on their downtime type thing for serial killers. Yeah,
and you get all the different types of slashers. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's a fun one. Yeah.
And they also got Blue Book by James Tynion the Fourth.
Oh no, James Tynion. Yeah, exactly.
And Michael Avon Oeming on art. It's a really good. If you like alien stuff, I it's a lot of fun if you're into that type of ancient aliens type stuff. And it's only Teenage Wasteland. I think just
that's
wrapped
a newer
up.
One.
Which
yeah, I haven't read all of that. Have you read all of that one?
No,
I've only.
I only have the first issue. I was going to get the trade.
So what's fun about Dark Horse too, which I like, is they put out a lot of hardcovers. Because I dig my hardcovers, and they put out a lot of hardcovers for a lot of their books. Like another original graphic novel that I just ordered recently because I couldn't hold off anymore. I was waiting for it to go on sale, but it's not going on sale. Is Callie. So I ordered that one. I should get that Monday.
Which one?
Callie. Kali. Yeah. Solomon is the author illustrator.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty. It looks really good. So yeah, I ordered that one. That's the original graphic novel that just came out maybe a little less than 6 months ago. I was putting it off, and there's a bunch of stuff I threw in my basket the other day, and so I ordered it at the same time to get it. Yeah.
I mean, like, if you're just looking for good fun, like, there's always Lady Killer by Joelle Jones. I mean, it gets a little serious in parts, but like I have a blast with this book. Just the idea of like the 1950s housewife assassin, like they just nail it, and the art is just gorgeous. Like Joelle Jones is on top of her game in that book.
And I think Dark Horse has a deal with Netflix as well. Netflix has the first right of refusal. I don't know what you call it there, but like if they want to produce a show, Netflix has the first go at it. So they have that deal in place as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but like the only thing that I think that they've made so far is Oktoberfaction, which
I
liked, but it only did one season.
Yeah. Well, they don't seem to be having a great track record, Netflix, with their. Although Umbrella Academy did really well. That show.
That's another one. You're right. I forgot.
That one's doing fantastic. Grendel was supposed to be in production. I haven't heard any news on that. I heard a rumor that it got dropped before they even put out the season, but I don't know. We'll see.
That would suck if it did, because I was actually looking forward to that.
Yeah, to see what they do with it. Yeah. hmm And like, what other movies have they done? They've done The Mask, Hellboy. Uh, they
What
have the
what's
Umbrella Academy
what
on Netflix.
what was the one with Ryan Reynolds with the cowboy the ghost cops R.I.P.D. Yeah, R.I.P.D.
Oh, okay.
It's a
Yeah,
dark horse
yeah.
comic.
They did Polar.
Oh yeah, Polar, which
They
I was
did,
gonna
which
bring
was
up.
not bad. Polar was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Like the Netflix adaptation was pretty solid with Mads Mikkelsen as the in the lead role. It was pretty good. I mean, it had that kind of a little bit kind of like that Crank style, like the what's his name, the Brian Taylor vibe to it, right?
Yeah, except it had more like what's his name? Wes Anderson colors to it than
Yeah,
it wasn't
but
quite
it had that.
neon. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
and it
kind of
was
had more like a
quirky.
pastel look to it or something.
Yeah,
Like
but it was very quirky. You know, it
more
was.
solid colors, I think. It was like brilliant yellows and stuff in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
So I
matches
mean,
the comic because the comic and most of the issues, all the art is black, white, and orange
yeah,
until
Santos. Yeah.
book 3, which has almost full color in it. But
Mm.
I really really love the Polar graphic novels because they're in I call them widescreen, but what do they call them?
Landscape, I guess.
Landscaped.
Landscape, yeah, widescreen
But
landscape,
these ones
whatever.
are like really really wide. You know what I mean? Like
hmm Yeah, they have. I have one of the other ones too. What's it called? I haven't read it yet. I picked it up from a discount site.
the ones he did for Panel Syndicate. What was that?
No, the Dark Horse. They put out the hardcover for it.
Oh, the Rashomon graphic novel he did, the Japanese samurai one.
Uh, it's behind a bunch of my short boxes, so I don't feel like moving it. But I picked that up. I have like there's this discount site I go to that sells their overstock on stuff, and I pick up some pretty good deals on stuff. So yeah, I go and check it every once in a while. Pick up some hardcovers. I picked that one up. I saw it. I was like, oh, Victor Santos. Gonna pick that up. Mm, yeah. What else? They put out Devil's. Is it the Devil's Hand or the Devil's Due? Anyway, that's another Cullen Bunn book that was pretty fun, where a guy through some bad voodoo gains a demon's powers that is trying to possess him. He steals the demon's powers so he doesn't get possessed, and he starts a cult and stuff. And that one was pretty cool. That was more recent, like a little while ago. You have the Joy Kills by Gerard Way. Is that through Image or is it Dark Horse?
That's a Dark Horse book as well.
Yeah, that
Killjoys, yeah.
Killjoys. That's another Gerard Way book that's put out by Dark Horse. Yeah,
And that one's actually kind of attached to their music too. Like
yeah.
the characters that they created in I think their third album. I
hmm
wasn't a big uh My Chemical Romance fan, but like I do know that like this one actually does tie to the music,
To the music. Yeah,
or at least
yeah.
to one of the albums, which was like a concept album. It's the one with the spider on it. I know that.
hmm
But
we mentioned Black Hammer real quick, and there's been a bunch of spin-offs from that, like the Unteens, Undead Teens, or whatever it was. That was like an X-Men style book that spun off uh, from the Black Hammer universe.
Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy, which is my
Skull
personal
Digger
favorite.
was fun. Yeah, there's I love his little mini-series spin-offs, like with the
Sh-
characters.
Sherlock Frankenstein,
Sherlock
Doctor
Frankenstein was
Star.
great. Yeah, yeah. You got the quantum something. What else?
You know, Barbeline had his own series.
Barbeline. You had Colonel
Colonel Weird, yeah.
Weird had his own little spin-off. Yeah, he did a spin-off for a lot of the different characters, so it's pretty fun. It's pretty
Well, I
fun.
mean, isn't he? They're still doing what's the book that's just kind of like one shots about the universe? What?
Visions, I think.
Yeah,
He got a bunch of guest writers to come on and do a one shot issues of stories with his different characters. Patton Oswalt did one of the stories. I mean, he got a bunch of people came on and did a bunch of stuff. And speaking of Patton Oswalt, I think Minor Threats is a Dark Horse book as well. Patton Oswalt's book, right? I know Sergio from the House of Nerds. He's a huge fan of that book. He pushes that anytime. He tries to sell everybody on that book, and it's gotten some pretty good reviews everywhere. Everyone seems to like it. So
I gotta check that out. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. So that's another one that just came out recently. I think that one just wrapped, like maybe a couple months ago. Yeah. So the trade should be coming out soon. Yeah, man. Dark Horse is on a high, man. For the last year and a half, almost 2 years, man. They've been just pumping out great title after great title.
Yeah, so, Survival Street was pretty fun. Like,
yeah, that's that Sesame Street parody.
Yeah,
parody book. Yeah. What else? And there's I was going through. You got the Criminal Macabre.
Yeah, the Cal McDonald stuff by Steve Niles.
Steve Niles. Yeah. You have that.
That was supposed to get an adaptation too. Like for the longest time, like Thomas Jane was signing on to play. Because if you look at like a lot of the covers that Tim Bradstreet drew for Criminal Macabre, like he drew Cal McDonald as Thomas Jane.
Okay.
And like, but that the adaptation never happened, which sucks. I think Thomas Jane would have been a great Cal McDonald. I think that'd have been a lot of fun. It'd have even been better than Give Him Hell Malone, which I don't care what anybody says. I think that movie's gangster. Like
Eric Powell did the Goon for the longest time through Dark Horse before he started Albatross Press. He did the Goon on Dark Horse, which ran for over 50 issues with Dark Horse, I think.
And original graphic novels. He did a lot with it. Like, it has this kind of own little universe, kind of like Hellboy. There were spin-offs and original graphic novels.
So Goon was that one was supposed to get an adaptation, animated adaptation.
Actually, there's a proof of concept short animated. It's so good. Like
it is. With what's his name does the voice?
Paul Giamatti. Yeah,
Paul Giamatti does the voice of the Yeah. It was good. I saw that too. It looked cool.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. It's still up. Yeah, it's really good. I highly recommend.
Yeah, for the Goon. The Goon was another one that was pretty cool. I love Eric Powell's style. So that ran on Dark Horse for the longest time.
What sucks is it was originally on Avatar. And like
was it?
Avatar gave him the wings that Dark Horse did. Just think of how big they could have been.
Yeah.
But then again, like we wouldn't have all those sleazy porno books that they put out with the nasty ink smell. So like whatever. Like maybe Avatar's better off as they were.
Yeah, maybe.
But they'd still be around. I don't think I think Avatar just kind of republishes their old stuff now.
Yeah, maybe that's what the Aftershocks turning into. It's smelling like that. Yeah. You think? I think did Powers come out for a little while on Dark Horse as well?
I think it's on Dark Horse now because all of Bendis' stuff is because when he bounced from DC, he took all that Jinx World stuff, and Powers has been at everywhere now. Like Marvel kind of put it out for a little while with Icon. It's been at Image like 3 different times, I think, bounced back and forth. So, and now it's at Dark Horse. So yeah.
Allred's Madman had quite the run at Dark Horse as well.
Actually, on Legend, like
Legend,
which it's the same thing, but it was really good. That was the first time it was in color. Yeah, it was one of my favorite. One of my favorite arcs when they go camping, like and run into the weird Mayan aliens and shit. Which kind of brings me to one of my books that I was going to talk about, Sam Humphries' Sacrifice, which is really cool about this epileptic kid. Like during a seizure, like he goes back in time and ends up with the Mayans, and like he's trying to tell them what's going to happen to him, and they don't believe him. They think he's a weirdo and stuff, and like he's got to train with like this warrior. It sounds pretty atypical, but it's a lot of fun. It's really well written. It's really emotional. I think Humphries is a pretty underrated writer. Sure, like some of his big two stuff didn't hit home super well, but no, a lot of people's don't, especially people that thrive in the indie world like him. But like if you check out stuff like Sacrifice, like I think a lot of people change their minds about Sam
Yeah.
Humphries.
Yeah, Spanky's a big Humphreys fan.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. That's what he sent me for Christmas one year. Citizen Jack. He sent me a Citizen Jack last year.
Did you ever read Our Love Is Real? Like
Nope.
his first comic? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty raunchy. I think you'd love it. It's pretty not safe for work.
It's up my alley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I remember reading about his licenses, they had Buffy before Boom did.
Yeah, they
Buffy
ran
the Vampire
Buffy
Slayer. Yeah, for a long time.
And Firefly.
Yeah. So
they had all that Whedon stuff, which if you care about him.
Yeah, because Whedon, they had all his stuff over at Dark Horse for the longest time.
Yeah, Frey, he did a bunch of stuff for them.
Yeah, he did all his stuff over there for a certain amount of time.
Which is cool because he actually wrote them at some point too. So
yeah, I think when he was over at Dark Horse, he was writing them. Yeah. Yeah. What else was there? Trying to think back.
They put out like cool collections of stuff sometimes. Like one of my favorite things that they put out was this hardcover, this oversized hardcover I have of the best of Milligan and McCarthy, which is old school Peter Milligan and Brendan McCarthy books. Basically, a lot of stuff that came out from Eclipse in the 80s, like Paradax and what was the Cruel Wave and a bunch. Just if you like 2000 AD stuff, it's a lot like that. Paradax reads a lot like Grant Morrison's Zenith. It's on the Madman style of things, but it's a little more. It's somewhere between Ranks and Madman. Like if you can imagine, like a blend between those, and it's a lot of fun, man. If you like P.D. Milligan, like it's a must-have. Really, really good, beautiful coloring by and artwork by Brendan McCarthy. A big fan. If you like psychedelic, surreal stuff, like he'll be right up your alley. It's such a good book.
Yeah, we touched on both Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow before, but they actually did a book together called Hard Boiled. That book when I was a kid, that blew my mind. I think that was the first comic where I was like, holy fuck. Hard Boiled was just it left the mark on me as a kid.
Yeah, Frank put out most of his best stuff at Dark Horse, man. He put out Gimme Liberty, like all the Martha Washington stuff, which was him and what's his name? David Gibbons, the guy who drew The Watchmen. And like it was like a really cool sci-fi thing about a little lady named Martha Washington who became a total space badass. They also did 300 for Dark Horse. That's another 300. Dark Horse movie. So
they did a movie, yeah, exactly. And that movie was fantastic. I love that movie. Visually, that's what
Zack Snyder, baby.
Yeah, that's what put Zack Snyder on the map. After that movie, he just blew up.
That's Zack Snyder.
Gerard Butler too. That made a name for him.
Oh, I was already a huge fan, man. Ever since Dracula 2000, like Gerard Butler, he's that cheesy bastard. I love him though. He is a god. Like you cannot fuck with Gerard Butler, in my opinion.
And they did Robot and
Rusty and Big Guy.
Big Guy, yeah. Rusty and Big Guy they did together. Darrow and Miller.
Which Rusty and Big Guy did a crossover with Madman too when they were at Dark Horse, which was pretty fun.
And they're putting out a new edition, I think, just recently. It's either out or coming out soon. So if you want to get that, you can pick that up either now or soon. Yeah.
And if you're a fan, you're gonna want to look for it because the old copies, out of print demons have gotten a hold of them, and it's ridiculous. So like if you want to get a hold of that or Hard Boiled right now, it's really, really hard. You're actually
there's a new edition coming out for the Big Guy. So anyone who's interested in that should be able to get a hold of it now.
That one's a lot of fun. It's a trip because it's totally a kid's book. It's actually all age, which you wouldn't expect from Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow.
To a certain point. Because the Godzilla creature, man, there's a little bit of body horror in it.
A little bit. But like as far as those guys go in like with the weird
Yeah,
robot orgy thing and
yeah.
hard
And
boiled.
hard boiled. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's nothing like that in little and big guy and
Yeah.
Rusty.
Yeah.
And, and then they put out fun little anthology graphic novels with a bunch of like creators all working together, like doing little shorts. Like this one I really like called
Oh, I have that
Noir.
one. Yeah, Noir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I don't know how they got away with it, but it's got a really good origin Batman strip by the twins Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba, which is great. There's a Stray Bullets short by David Lapham with about Jenny kicking two dudes' asses for putting her in a box. Yeah, there's Jeff Lemire short in there, a really early Jeff Lemire short, which he wrote and draw. It's really good. It's got Dean Motter's Mr. X in there. Like, it's a really good celebration of war. Oh, it's got Brew Baker and Phillips as well.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of noir, I cannot recommend this little graphic novel enough.
Yeah.
And I think they redid it in a hardcover that's actually normal size. I got the old original
I got
digest size one.
I'll go grab the hardcover.
It looks exactly the same, right? Or oh, okay. So there's actually like a bit of a cover to this one. It's not just flat black with the word.
Yeah, it's comic size. So
well, I mean, and there's actually like
it's the same format as a comic.
There's actually graphics on the cover too.
Yeah, it's all faded and like muted out, like low contrast, black and gray, and then you just get the solid black and white where it's written noir. Yeah,
it's happening.
Yeah, it's a nice little hardcover. Yeah, good little anthology. Yeah. I'm trying to think of better recent ones, but I can't.
If you like folk horror, like kind of like the Colin Lorimer stuff we've talked about, or Colin Bunn's, I was gonna recommend Alabaster by Caitlin R. Kieran, which has had a couple different artists between the graphic novels. Actually, one of the first books I ever saw Daniel Warren Johnson's art on was the third graphic novel, The Good, the Bad, and the Bird, which is really good, really kind of a gory horror fest, which was kind of a twist for this book because it's pretty folky, you know what I mean? Like it's about this girl who is kind of haunted by this warrior angel, and basically she wanders the back roads of America and kills monsters, but it's kind of always hinted that she might be insane and just be killing regular people too. So it's one of those type of books I highly recommend. Alabaster. It's a lot of fun, really kind of cool, different kind of. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's worth it. It kind of almost reminds me a little bit of the show Happen Leonard too, with the kind of the way it kind of captures that southernness to it really well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned Colin Lorimer, Daisy. We touched on that, but he has another book coming out at Dark Horse too, which he didn't go into very many details because it's in the early goings. But yeah, so Daisy was another great book that was maybe almost 2 years ago now that came out on Dark Horse, but that was another great one.
Yeah, I think so, like 2021, I think, when that came out.
Yeah, so close to 2 years ago. Survival Street, you'd already mentioned. I could just do a quick Google search here.
Well, I mean, they've always kind of really liked and respected artists. So if you like
Cloaked. I forgot about Cloaked. That was a pretty cool book. Mike Richardson wrote that one himself with Jordy Emmengold on art. So that's pretty cool. You had a lot of crossovers, with the DC Dark Horse.
Oh yeah,
they do a lot of crossovers. Like you have
Batman and Alien,
crossover.
Batman and Predator, Batman versus Alien and Predator.
You have Black Hammer with Justice League. You had The Mask and the Joker did a crossover. What else is there? You did The Mask and Lobo, Judge Dredd and Batman. I think Tank Girl had a short run on Dark Horse as well.
Yeah, I think they reprinted it in over here in the U.S. originally before Titan.
Yeah. Bendis' new book. Doesn't he have a new book out with Dark Horse called The Ones? Is that it? Yeah, The Ones. I haven't read it. I don't know if it's any good. So that's a more recent one by Bendis. What else do they have? The Shaolin. Yeah, the Shaolin one just wrapped up. Jeff Darrow did a new run on the Shaolin. Oh yeah, Masquerade by Kevin Smith came out on Dark Horse. That's like some assassin type girl. I don't know the story. I didn't pick it up, but yeah.
I didn't know Kevin Smith did a new book. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. I liked most of the stuff he has put out.
Yeah. They have the license for Masters to the Universe.
Wow, that's weird.
They're putting out a bunch of He-Man books. Oh yeah, Stranger Things. They have the license to Stranger Things. There's actually got announced just recently. There's a crossover between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Stranger Things coming out. I just saw it yesterday. Yeah,
I'll have to get that, man.
Like, and it's cool because the cover is Stranger Things, and in the reflection, like underground, like in the sewer, is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So like the upside down is like where the turtles are. It was a pretty cool illustration to put the ad up. Oh, No One Left to Fight. That you love that book, right, Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By Aubrey Citizen and Fico Asio.
Yeah. Yeah, that came out on Dark Horse. Mass. Kill Whitney Donovan. Oh, they have the license for Apex Legends. That's a video game.
They also what's that other one? Overwatch. They got comics for too.
Okay. Bang came out on Dark Horse. That's a Matt Ken book.
Ether is probably my favorite Matt Kent.
Ether. That's Dark Horse.
David Rubin, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize that was Dark Horse. Yeah, that's a good book. Blackwood. That's like a teen horror thing.
Department H is another Matt Kent. What's the other one? Mind Management. Yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff at Dark Horse.
Oh, I see the Batman Alien crossover here.
Oh yeah, he did, and he also did. There was Batman versus Alien versus Predator too. Like he did like all three of them. So
yeah.
I don't know if he did Terminator.
Hunter X or X Hunters. I didn't realize there was a comic for the original series. Unless that's not out yet, it's coming out. I didn't realize they were making a comic for it.
Rick Remender, some of his early work was at Dark Horse. He put out Gigantic with Dustin Nguyen, which is a pretty cool kaiju book. He did Fear Agent, which is kind of precursor to like Black Science type stuff. And then like one of my favorite books he did was called The End League, which is about like it's basically like an analog of Marvel and DC kind of mixed together with the superheroes, but it's like after the villains take over and like the world's ended and like there's just like this small band of superheroes left and like they gotta it's basically the last battle and it's really good. I highly recommend it. Like for people that liked Zack Snyder's Justice League and thought the Nightmare World thing looked cool. That's basically what this graphic novel is. But there's some Marvel type characters in there too.
The Roadie is a newer book that Tim Silly put out about the roadies getting some kind of power. I have that. I haven't read it yet though. I have the floppies for that. That's a Tim Silly book. The new book coming out is by James Tynion. I believe it's on Dark Horse. Is Christopher Chaos. That's going to be coming out soon. Yeah, it's from his Substack. So Dark Horse is putting out James. So I don't know if they have a deal going because they have his Blue Book as well, right? And now they're going to be putting out his Christopher Chaos. Dark Horse is hitting up all these people putting out digital books, right? They hit up Comixology. Now they're hitting a bunch of people up for their Substacks to publish all their Substack stuff. So, I mean, they're out there hustling, man. And
That's
it looks
cool.
good. Christopher Chaos looks pretty cool, actually. I think I put that on my poll, actually. I think I'm going to be getting that. Count Crowley, we talked about. Savage Squad 6. I don't know what that is. What's that? It's got the newer logo. Robert Vendetti. Okay, I saw this in the solicits. Brickton McKenney. He's the other co-writer of Jenny Zero with DeWanch. Dalton. Geraldo Filo. Huh. I wonder if that Brockton McKenney. I like his stuff too. He's funny. He's worked on Jenny Zero. Witcher we talked about. The Wire. Barbed Wire came out with Dark Horse for a while.
Barbed Wire, like the Pamela Anderson.
Yeah. Right? That was with Caliber originally, no?
I think so. I remember that being at a more trashy studio. Like that's kind of funny that was at Dark Horse.
Unless it's a crossover, it has a Dark Horse logo on it. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, they also put out like Indiana Jones books back in the day. So like
yeah, that's what you were saying. Some Indiana Jones, yeah.
So they were kind of all over the place.
Survival's a new book coming out soon. I put that on my poll. Sean Lewis with Brandon Everett and Natalie Baraoma.
That's cool. I like Sean Lewis, so I'll probably check that out.
Yeah. You have X that was came over from, what's it, the Greatest Heroes or whatever universe?
Yeah, the World's Greatest Heroes. Like when they had that in the, well, they brought Ghost back too. Like
Ghost, yeah. The Quick Stop. There's a new Quick Stop comic. Kevin Smith is writing a new series for the Quick Stop. I have that on my poll. I forgot about that.
That's kind of one shots too, right? With different artists. He kind of writes like these short stories about like Randall and Dante and.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, so I have no clue. But I picked that up. I put it on my poll. White Savior is a book that's been getting some pretty good reviews. I think that's on maybe issue 2 or 3 right now. Nguyen, Berman. I don't know. It's been getting good reviews though. Orville. I didn't realize they had the license for Orville. Dead Mall. There's people like that one. Dead Mall that came out a little while ago, maybe a year ago. Yeah. Umbrella Academy, some Godzilla, Next Man. Yeah, man. I think we almost covered everything, man. I think we. Is there anything else on your older stuff that you hadn't talked about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just some name drop stuff. Like I really like The Victories by Michael Avon Oeming. I think it's a really kind of cool superhero deconstruction. It's not just like wannabe Watchmen stuff like a lot of superhero deconstruction is. This one is kind of off on its own, and it kind of goes a little harder than a lot of other people. Like the first story arc, Touched. Let's just say it's not about a person that's very gifted.
Oh, Neil Gaiman's new book, or his ongoing Norse mythology, is through Dark Horse.
Yeah, they got a bunch of his stuff. Like they put out like a ton of his like original graphic novels, and they got American Gods, and So like most of the modern Neil Gaiman comic related stuff has been Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have a pretty funny like classic story. I didn't know it was Dark Horse at the time, but like I think I told you the story before about like I think it was my 8th birthday. My dad took me to like a legit LCS for the first time, and he bought me a Ninja Turtles omnibus from Mirage, and like we went and read a couple of things from it. But like when he was getting the omnibus, he told me to just kind of look around the comic book store and enjoy. And I remember coming across this. the cover Eddie Current by Ted McKeever, and just being utterly disturbed and creeped out by it. And this image is like burnt into my brain from that moment in my childhood. I eventually read the graphic novel years later, and it is so different than what I imagined. But
Yeah.
like my young mind seeing that for the first time, like I was used to Marvel and DC, you know what I mean? I didn't really ever see experimental comic book art at that time. I hadn't seen Bill Sienkiewicz or anybody like that yet. So like seeing Ted McKeever's Eddie Current just warped my precious little mind at the time. And yeah, like and thank you, Dark Horse. I mean, like it's one of those things that kind of kept me interested because I was utterly revolted by it, but at the same time I wanted to know what it was, you know
What
what I
it
mean? Like,
was, yeah, it got you. It caught your attention. Ah, I just made a connection. The guy who's writing Doom Patrol, Culver,
yeah.
he wrote Prone. It's kind of like the retired Red Sonja book that Dark Horse put out, where she's like, it's almost like if it was Red Sonja when she's older, when she's yeah, Culver. He wrote that. That's why I saw his name somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, that's another bunch of stuff that Dark Horse sadly lost the license to Marvel. It's like all that Conan and
Oh,
all
Marvel
the
doesn't
stuff.
have it anymore.
Do they not?
Nope. Conan is now with. Is it back with Titan? I don't remember who has it now, but it's not Marvel anymore.
Okay. Well, yeah, they used to put out like the Conan books and like what's the guy's name who wrote all that stuff?
I don't know.
They had his library before Marvel did, and like they did a
Yeah.
lot more with it. They had a lot of really popular Conan comics for a long time.
Yeah.
Which people really loved. I never personally got into it, but like some people I really liked did write for it. Like I think Brian Wood wrote for Conan, a couple other people I thought were cool at the time.
All 8 legs, all 8 eyes. I mean, that's a book that just dropped this week. Some kind of horror spider book thing where giant spiders torment Steve Fox, Piotr Kowalski, Brad Simpson. There's a really cool Stoko variant for that just dropped this week. Yeah, hopefully I think I took the Stoko cover. I don't remember, but all 8 eyes. That just dropped. That's another horror title from Dark Horse. Yeah, cool.
And then I like this one a lot too. Concrete Park by Tony Proyer and Erica Alexander. It's kind of like a Total Soul Cinema comic about like this prison planet and this guy who gets marooned on there, but like there's kind of some weird cyberpunk stuff going on too. But I don't know. It's really fast paced. It's really funny. It's got some great dialogue. So if you like like 70s exploitation films, I highly recommend checking out Concrete Park. It's really, really fun.
Oh, that makes me think there's another one that you put in your naughty nice list this past year.
Kings of Nowhere?
Yeah, that's on my list. I got to read that. I put that in my
Yeah, I can't wait for book 2 because the first one it's a lot of fun, man. It's like City of God meets Sweet Tooth. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine such a thing, like
I've got that on my list to read.
But I really like, I forget dude's name right now. He's Brazilian, I believe, but like
he's living out of Toronto right now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's up in Toronto.
His art is amazing though, yeah. Yeah, that's just like a little 100-page thing that they kind of just put out, I think at the end of last year, right? Yeah, I think it came out in December.
There's 2 volumes out right now.
Oh, is book 2 finally out? Okay.
Yeah. You can I went and checked on Kindle and volume 1 and 2 are both out. So
I'll have to get book 2 then because I really like the first one.
Yeah. It's 2 volumes out right now. That's one I want to go read. That one looked pretty cool. I remember you put it on your end of year list, so I was like, oh, I have to go check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh and raw. Oh, yeah, and like Dark Horse, like they do kind of import stuff every now and then too, European stuff. They have Black Sad, which is probably one of the coolest European noir game comic books. There's a video game for it too that's very good.
Yeah.
that looks exactly like the comic book. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. But yeah, I forget who did that. What's his name? It's Fringe. It's a very beautiful graphic novel. It's noir, but it's about like anthropomorphic animal people.
Hmm.
Like the main character is this panther. It's gorgeous though. It's such a neat book. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very well regarded, critically well regarded.
Yeah, and they release there's been I think four different books for it, and like Dark Horse has released all of them in English, so definitely check that out if you can or if you haven't yet.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So man, Dark Horse is killing it still after 35, almost 40 years. It's crazy, crazy. Like people like to think of Image as like the big indie publisher, but man, Dark Horse has been doing it for a long time. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, Dark Horse. Yeah, I think aside from Fantagraphics, might be one of the longest running American indie titles that, and like, but like Fantagraphics like has lulls and stuff, whereas Dark Horse seems to have been like almost ever present.
Yeah, constantly publishing multiple titles, each
And they
each.
they love and respect artists. That's one thing that I like. They got like some really cool names that only come to them and put stuff out like Troy Nixie and
Mm.
it seems like well Frank is putting his own stuff out, but for a while it looked like he was like a Dark Horse guy, ride or die. And yeah, they just seem to really have like we said, James Stocco seems to like be working there, so like they kind of really um,
Yeah, I think
seem
they
to,
have good relationships with their creators for sure. Yeah.
but especially with wild art and like especially people that shine as artists, like Victor Santos is another guy they seem to work a lot with, but
Mhm.
he seems to be bouncing all over the place right now though because he did like a Panel Syndicate book and
Mhm.
but
But Panel Syndicate, that's self-published, right? So if it gets printed, who knows? Maybe it'll go through. Maybe he'll go through Dark Horse. You never know.
yeah,
Mm. Because I think what was Friday? That's Brubaker.
it's Brubaker and Marcos Martin.
Yeah, the Marcos Martin is the co-founder with Brian K. Vaughan, I think, of Panel Syndicate. So
He
yeah.
does a lot of the art for the books. Like he did both the Brian K. Vaughan books. He did the art for Private Eye and Barrier too. So
Mhm.
yeah, Marcos Martin, really good artist. Actually, I think Friday has his best art in it though. That book is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a nice book.
But
Not published at Dark Horse, so I won't say
no,
where it's published.
tragically. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was our look into Dark Horse, and yeah,
yeah,
I hope you got maybe learned about a couple books from it, or like maybe help you reminisce about like how cool the company really is.
Mhm.
We're gonna
Yeah,
be
man.
back
So
on
Tuesday.
Tuesday with EPHK. He's gonna be back.
Yeah,
We're gonna
we'll
be
be
talking
talking
to
about
Nick.
we'll be talking about his new book that's gonna be coming out probably next year, maybe by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. I'm not sure, but we'll get into more specifics about that when he's on. Some of you, we've already had him on once before, maybe what, a little over a year ago.
Yeah,
But he's the creator of an Image book called Moith Valles. So maybe if you've read that, you're familiar with his work, or you maybe have backed his Kickstarter campaigns for Active
active
Measures.
measures, or just bought his
Yeah.
stickers, which are amazing. Or
Yeah, and he has a Patreon, so I don't know if you're on his Patreon, but he also has a Patreon. Nocturnal, what's his site called? I can't
Clandestine
remember,
Republic,
but
right?
Clandestine Republic. Yeah, that's it. Clandestine Republic is his site where you can go pick up his books if you're interested. Go check it out. You could order his books there. I think he just reopened his shop a couple months ago. It was closed for a little while because he moved from Germany to France. So now he's residing in France. So his shop was down for a bit till he got settled. But now he's all settled in and his shop is open again. So if you go on Clandestine, what was it? Republic?
Yeah.
Go on Clandestine Republic and you could go check out his stuff and order his books. what's available on his site. But we'll have him on Tuesday.
Yeah. And it's going to be an early show too. So yeah.
Yeah, another early show. Yeah. There'll be a 3 o'clocker, 3 p.m. Eastern.
So pretty much the same time as this show, just on Tuesday.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I hope to see you guys there. Take it easy, y'all.
Have a great weekend, everyone.